Hi, my name is Lily, and I did my presentation on the European Wars of Religion and how faith was used as a weapon for power. The European Wars of Religion demonstrated that the Reformation was not merely a theological debate, but also a struggle for political power, where monarchs and nobles used faith as a weapon to gain authority and redefine national identity. The Reformation began as a call to return to Scripture, but became entangled in earthly power struggles. James 4:1 says, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you?" Before 1517, Europe was united under the Roman Catholic Church, where the Pope held major religious and political authority. Over time, the Church became focused on rituals, power, and tradition instead of faith and Scripture, and ordinary people couldn't read the Bible themselves. Many clergy were poorly trained and emphasized ceremonies over teaching, causing the Church to function more like a political institution rather than a spiritual one. This left many people spiritually unsatisfied and ready for reform. After surviving a thunderstorm and vowing himself to God, Martin Luther became a monk in 1505. Reading the Bible for himself led him to realize that the true salvation comes through faith, not the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church. Seeing the Church's errors, he wrote the 95 Theses, questions and challenges to its practices, and nailed them to a church door in Wittenberg. His claims, especially against the idea of buying salvation, angered church authorities who demanded the recant, but Luther refused, declaring that his conscience was bound to Scripture. The Protestant Reformation broke Europe's long-standing religious unity, creating deep spiritual and political divisions. Northern regions became largely Protestant, while southern nations stayed Catholic, and many monarchs used these religious shifts to gain independence from the Pope and increase national power. The split brought both spiritual renewal and serious conflict, showing how political motives can threaten the unity Christ desires for his church. During the Reformation, kings and nobles used religion to expand their power and reduce the Pope's influence. Monarchs tied national loyalty to religious identity and used faith to unify their kingdoms, as seen when Henry VIII created the Church of England. Religion began shaping alliances and conflicts across Europe, and both Catholic and Protestant rulers treated religious dissent as a threat, punishing those who worshiped differently. Faith became a political tool to secure, control, and maintain order. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters." The German Peasants' War, 1524 to 1525. Peasants, motivated by Reformation ideas and heavy oppression from nobles, rose up demanding freedom, fairness, and relief from harsh taxes. Although they believed the gospel supported their fight for justice, their rebellion turned violent. The French Wars of Religion, 1562 to 1598. In France, Catholic nobles of the Guise family and Protestant Huguenots, led by the Bourbons, battled for power under the guise of religion. The conflict, driven by both faith and political rivalry, escalated into brutal events like the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572, where thousands were killed. The Protestant Netherlands rebelled against Catholic Spain during the Dutch Revolt from 1568 to 1648. Led by William of Orange, the Dutch fought for both independence and religious tolerance, making faith a central part of their national identity. The struggle mixed spiritual motives with desire for trade, freedom, and self-government, ultimately resulting in the independent Dutch Republic, a Protestant-led nation built on unity and tolerance. The 30 Years' War from 1618 to 1648. It began in the Holy Roman Empire as a conflict between Catholic and Protestant states over religious rights, but it soon grew into a wider power struggle involving major European nations like Spain, France, and Sweden. Millions died in conflicts carried out in God's name, though many were driven more by power than true faith. War devastated towns and farmland, leading to economic collapse, famine, and mass displacement as refugees fled persecution. Even amid the chaos of the Reformation and wars, God brought spiritual renewal. The Bible became accessible in local languages, and many believers rediscovered personal faith in Jesus. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Faith should guide love and peace, not power or violence. Christians are called to seek unity through truth, Scripture, and compassion rather than force or domination. The European Wars of Religion reshaped Europe politically and spiritually, highlighting how faith can shape identity and how human pride can twist the pursuit of truth into division and violence. They ultimately paved the way for religious tolerance in independent nations.